Trigger warning.
Hi, my name's Will, and I wanted to tell you why you should walk away from the Democratic Party. For me, it all started during the Obama presidency. I was a fervent supporter of Obama at first because as a Democrat, I was tired of the same establishment politicians running, Hillary Clinton, the continuance of bad and failed foreign policy. Many Democrats rallied behind President Obama, but it became very apparent to me and many others who later would walk away that all they wanted to do was race bait every time anybody questioned bad policy, whether foreign or domestic, by the Obama regime. We saw race relations intensify over the presidency of Obama, and at every turn it was the Democratic establishment talking heads in the mainstream media that were perpetuating the race tensions. We saw during this period many singular instances of racism or police brutality be highlighted in the media. At the end of Obama's presidency, we began to see a transition in the Democratic Party. Their positions shifted as Republican President Donald Trump would be ending his campaign. At first, even the establishment Democrats such as Hillary Clinton were actually promoting that Donald Trump run. At the beginning of the 2016 election, I was not excited about either candidate. I felt that the Democratic Party had not only failed me, but every other Democrat who truly wanted change and progressivism. And there I must segue into my early adulthood, the confusion that I think every American has with exactly which political ideology that they embrace. And I think this confusion stems from the confusion of the political terms associated with different parties. You see, I thought I was a liberal, and it turned out I was a libertarian. I thought I was a moderate Democrat, and it turns out I was conservative. Like many Democrats, I was completely embarrassed to see the DNC prop Hillary Clinton as the chosen candidate for our party. Because I saw Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton at the time both as unfavorable candidates, like many millennials, I had a lot of support for Bernie Sanders. That support quickly dwindled immediately after establishment Democrat politician Hillary Clinton was found to be cheating Bernie Sanders out of the Democratic primary. And just 2 days later, he pulled his own sign out after accusing her of cheating and backed her in the race. It was at that point, despite Bernie Sanders joining the Democratic Party and watching what the establishment Democrats were doing to it, that I finally decided to walk away. I started to garnish support for Donald Trump at this moment. Not because at the time I liked his personality, but I didn't actually disagree with any of his policy points, and I felt that the Democratic Party was being too emotionally driven and not actually coming up with substantial policy or alternative options. After Bernie Sanders dropped out of the campaign, several key things happened. It definitely became a race between Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump, and as a Democrat, I was ashamed of Hillary Clinton. There was no way that I was going to vote for her. I think that was the start of the walkaway movement. And as the mainstream media kept reiterating polls, suggesting to the American populace that Hillary Clinton was going to win the election for sure. And when those predictions turned out to be false on election night, I, like many other Americans, was deeply surprised that Donald J. Trump had become the 45th President of the United States. My transition to the Conservative Party would still take slightly longer, because still, at this point, I had just seen this as a failed 8-year campaign of the Democratic Party. But as information surfaced, not only about the Hillary Clinton email scandal, but the obvious manipulation in the primary, rigging it against Bernie Sanders. As the election ramped up, towards the end it was clear that Hillary Clinton was nothing but a corporate, banker, and foreign dignitary asset. After Hillary Clinton lost the election, like many other Americans, I thought maybe now the Democratic Party would take this moment to really reconsolidate their message, to get behind better political candidates, to come up with true agendas, and to start reconsolidating the party. Instead, they decided to radicalize under Marxist ideology and promote shelled candidates through acting positions, promoting people with no prior political experience and winning them elections based off of pre-written material. The Justice Democrats movement was the final straw on the camel's back. What is the Justice Democrat movement, you might ask?
Shoykat Chakrabarti was a co-founder of Justice Democrats, along with myself and Cenk Uygur and Zach Exley. And Shoykat and Zach were basically from the Bernie Sanders campaign, and they were very serious organizers who knew what they were doing, so it was the perfect mix.
So why did you step down from the Justice Democrats?
There's a portion of the left that gets too mired up in identity politics.
We live in this wonderful country with a democracy, and so let's use the democracy to take over the government.
And that's a problem. And you saw it with Hillary Clinton, with how she was, "I'm with her" was her slogan. As if that's supposed to be an overriding factor, and as if you're supposed to like not care about the fact that she's not for Medicare for all and she's a corporatist and stuff. And I think that when you overly focus on identity politics, it's basically a diversion from the things that the Democrats are supposed to care about and supposed to fight for.
Back in 2016, we put out a call for nominations, trying to capture the diversity of background, of experience of the American electorate, the people that aren't currently represented in office. We got over 10,000 nominations. Out of those 10,000 nominations, we found Alexandria.
My brother told me that he had sent my nomination in the summer, but I was like, literally working out of a restaurant then, and I was like, there's no way.
Her profile is not what you'd think of as someone who should run for office, right?
I grew up with a really politically engaged and attuned family. We always were debating politics, talking about things, but we were never involved in the formal structures of politics.
We saw these signs of someone who's willing to sacrifice their own future for the good of others.
I remember some of the moments that I felt really dejected about politics, the extension of the Bush tax cuts in 2010, and seeing that the same people were financing all campaigns. And I was like, what is even the difference of a Democrat and a Republican?
That was the depressing part, right?
Yeah, exactly. And so I, like a lot of working people, felt that cynicism, and I understood it very deeply. 2016 represented a re-engagement. That's when I started tuning in more to activism and really getting to the core of these issues. I remember that evening on Election Day in November. I was really disappointed and really sad, but I was not shocked.
She was at Standing Rock trying to figure out what her next steps are, just like a lot of people were. What do you do when someone like Trump wins?
And my experience at Standing Rock was so spiritually transformative. Being there in such an acute moral struggle, you really saw how it was more important than any material thing. And so I walked out of that camp and I was like, what do I do? And then literally that day, I get this email like, this is what you do.
So Izzy, one of the people that was working with us at the time, called, and it was scheduled for 20, 30 minutes, and it went maybe an hour and a half.
Like, you hadn't thought about running for office or anything at that point, right?
No.
You just knew you got to do something.
I knew that I had to do something.
Yeah, we would call people up and kind of walk them through the platform.
We would try to call up folks that were like doing all kinds of amazing stuff, right? Every conversation would have a very awkward pitch at the end, because we'd like talk to them about like, oh, it's so great, you're like saving lives, you're fixing stuff in your community, and so do you want to run for Congress, maybe?
She was like, well, would you be open entering this kind of nomination process? And I was like, sure, because that's not a, will you run for Congress?
We felt the passion in her voice. She really wanted to fight for the big thing, and she got on a bunch of video calls to meet some of the other candidates that at the time were thinking about running.
There were so many other amazing candidates. The entire time I didn't think I was gonna be picked. In my brain, I was like, this isn't gonna happen, this isn't gonna happen, until Izzy called, and she was like, hey, do you wanna go to Kentucky in 2 weeks? And I was like, oh.
We invited people to an in-person summit in Kentucky when we started getting serious about who we were going to run.
Well, Kentucky was, I mean, I found it, at least for me,
It was a spiritual experience.
It was spiritual experience. It was.
What happened was just magic. All these people from all over the country, incredible community leaders, talking about similar problems they all faced, talking to each other, engaging, pumping each other up, pumping us up, you know.
That was like a super pivotal moment, I felt like. I just remember the first day we've created this network of people that put movement first.
Feeling like it was a movement and that it wasn't about me was the most convincing aspect. Being like, oh yeah, I'll do this because it's a bunch of crazy people.
But the thing that was most disappointing was that ultimately it all led back to the same backer of Hillary Clinton. This alternative party was in fact still the same establishment Democratic Party that we've always seen, except they were able to rebrand themselves and drastically step forward their ridiculous agenda. These revelations made it so that I could no longer stand by the Democratic Party, and I'm hoping that they will change your mind too, that you will start to look up more information about the Justice Democrats. This information was so shocking to me that a month ago I decided to start my own YouTube channel. Little did I know that as a conservative student that my voice would actually be popular on YouTube. In 4 short weeks I've gathered over 4,000 subscribers, which just goes to show that the conservative ideals truly are resonating with the American people. God bless Donald Trump. God bless America, and let's keep America great.